It's the reset sniper coming at you. Yes, indeed, he says. It is a Panama hat. More on why you should have one too soon. Slightly water spoiled. You got to be careful. But anyway, yep. So what am I coming at you at? Watermelon communism. The reset sniper is telling you in what robe they will be wearing when they come for you to take away your freedoms, to constrain you, to introduce their new personally controlled fiat equivalent money system. Remember, they will never let you have your own money system. They will never let you have your own money system. We're looking in this column here on this tweet shield here, and I want to illustrate a few tweets that I've put out recently. The first and the biggest and the most brashest, insanest attempt at mental programming from Bloomberg, aka at business. We are the bottom line. We've got that tag, yes? I've got to follow them for the deception that they sow so I can see what the control structure is trying to bring. And this is what they said. September 28th, aka Saturday at 7:41 a.m. my time, they released this tweet. Central bankers, aka control structure, middle management Pied Pipers, worrying about which will pay them more of the investment banks when they leave, or hedge fund, aka do I go to Goldman Sachs, do I go get a cushy consultancy under Kissinger and Associates, do I join XYZ hedge fund and bring my contacts book over and cash out for all my parastatal government employee work that I've been doing. Think Mark Carney coming to the end of his tether because he wanted to stay to see Britain through Brexit. Have you ever seen such loyal, pure motive and just commitment to serving of you? Kind of like Tony Blair saying how much he loved public service. You know, public service is what he was about. Central bankers, the cartel, are increasingly worried. You gotta laugh. This is so insane. Are increasingly worried. Got to do this in red, communist red. Are increasingly worried that climate change. You heard it here. They are mentally bridging two totally disparate events and systems as being part and parcel of the same thing, and that they could sow the seeds of the next financial crisis. Central bankers are now weathermen. They are concerned about the weather. The extent that these punks will take a tweet out and test the degree of derision and dissent. This is a test. Can we get away with associating something that I know has to happen shortly, within the next 2, possibly 3 years, a full-blown financial reset for economically destroyed countries that they've been engineering with ever increases in war and debt? All of these things that they have created, synergistically synchronized to be global. That's right. I'll share a diagram I even did in my sniper circle that came from a tweet. You actually have market cap of Korean wons and Hong Kong dollars and the yuan, just to show you how the Asian nations have caught up and surpassed. This is the market cap of its current value of a yuan in dollars times the number of yuan that have been created. Twice that of the dollar. It's not even to scale. Then you've got your, just under the pound sterling, you've got your Korean won and your Hong Kong dollar, surpassing, those two surpassing pound sterling and nestling below gold with only the euro, America and China in between it. Unbelievable. And why am I taking this little sidebar right now? Because it is absolutely insane the market cap of the fiat that has been proliferated. This is just your M2 supply, by the way. Great chart. You should follow the gentleman behind it. I do, but it was a great chart. Let me try find out his name, Dan. I'll include it in the notes for him. Anyway, back to Bloomberg. These guys are associating heating of a planet due to carbon emissions. So their theory. I'm not going to get into that discussion on where I stand on that. It's too long. And a separate sidebar that would be an entire series of videos of its own, and for which I'm not even a particularly big specialist. I just read material from both sides. But anyway, if that was the case, how would that seed the financial crisis, which is a system of electronic money in computers largely? Most fiat paper is less than 3% in most nations of the money in the system, and is controlled by those same central bankers that are now externalizing the reason why something we all know has to happen is going to happen. Also, by nation states that they control, particularly the United States, which is totally parasitically controlled, kind of like the insect that burrows itself into a locust's head and makes it jump in the river and drown itself so it can be eaten without too much movement. The control structure is totally embedded in America. These are the same people that do geoengineering. If you've never done this search before, find out about geoengineering and rain seeding, exposing the great climate engineering cover-up. These are people that have laser beams in, the likes of Lockheed Martin, that can melt objects. Let's do Lockheed Martin, why don't you? Why are we on this little reveal of all things that have seen the United States get so indebted with ridiculous expenditure on contracts to military industrial complex, that have seen them get, let's do energy directed weapons. That's the one I wanted. Energy directed weapons, Lockheed. These people have got they've got lasers that will burn an hole right through entire vehicles. They are seeding the clouds to cause rain, and then leaving very dry air behind. They can seed rain in one place that leaves dry air flowing to another. They are tampering with their geoengineering, and then they will say, it's climate what done it. Look at that engine block blasted through by a laser from way up on high, brought to you by your friends at Lockheed Martin, where death is business, and your government throws contracts aplenty to them. This is where you're standing. You have a government that is controlling the fiat proliferation through their central banking cartel, that are now looking for some future, probably geoengineered crisis where we'll have a bunch of hurricanes. By the way, the evidence is catastrophe insurance has never been more profitable. Their payouts have never been so low, not since 2006. So it sure ain't going to be catastrophe insurance. They are flying now. They're getting great premiums and they're making low payouts. Okay, so let's not even go there. That's the facts. So they are worried about climate being it. And it just happens to dovetail in. And the irony is, I've done this newsletter for all the people on our mailing list. If you're not on our mailing list, and I've called this coming for a while. I did this newsletter over a week and a half ago. So this Bloomberg tweet has happened subsequent to it, and it confirms everything I say. And this has a trade in it. It has two great trades in it, because I'm a trader first. But let me tell you, politically, you can't help but comment on the craziness, the insanity of what the control structure and its engineering behind the scenes, through its military industrial complex, through the geoengineering, through many other things that I haven't even got time to mention, like HARP and all the others, and this control, Greta Thunberg. It's absolutely tragic. Autistic child. It's child abuse. this is what she's going. We don't yet have the technology to turn carbon into oxygen, she says. I've introduced her to this bioflora and fauna item that's known as a tree. Actually, that functions exceedingly well. This is Jim Reichardz's comment, and I was encouraged by that as someone who's engaged with the control structure, maybe a bit too much for my comfort. He's a very interesting guy and has a lot of news. Maybe he's a bit of controlled opposition, maybe he isn't. But he's a smart guy, he's an interesting guy, so I watch, but I don't necessarily give trust easily. I assess facts, but here he comes, starting to show her true colors. He's commenting on it. We're on the beginning of a mass extinction, they squeal. And you can all talk about is money. All you can talk about is money. No, I'm about lifestyle, actually. Lifestyle trader is what I talk about, which means lots of living, lots of fun, riding your bike, being cool to everybody else, leaving the beach cleaner than when you showed up, leaving anything you do, trying to do no harm to others, whilst giving those around you an amazing existence and helping others build wealth. But, you know, you can say I'm all about money if you want. And fairy tales of economic growth. No, I have no illusions about economic growth. We don't have it. They've created a fiat-based expansion of money system to hide the fact that we are in a global contraction. You can't have growth-only economic markets, especially as your demographic cycle change. The same way Japan is one of the wealthiest nations, but is a low-growth nation because they don't have teenagers, they don't have they've got a pig and a python that is an aging community that doesn't need to spend much, already has their homes, a good quality of life, and when they go as tourists, they have the best cameras and the best glasses and are smart as a pin, and comes off aircon tour buses visiting London or any other place that I've been. So Greta's starting to show her true colors. Well, it's not Greta, Jim, I think you know that. She's an agent provocateur for worldwide socialism. She's being used through a number of organizations, one of which being the Open Society. What she knows about climatology and demography and system time wouldn't fit at a thimble. Okay, so Reichardt isn't a buyer, but there's otherwise not much factual in there. By the way, what coincided, this is the newsletter, by the way, go register for a mini-series. Don't even watch it if you don't want to, if you just want to receive the newsletter. And you'll get my thoughts of where I think we're at. And believe me, the reset is coming, and these guys are making the most tenuous of arguments to associate it to anything that they can justify as the reason they're going to pull the tent down on everybody. That has to come down. Capitalism. Time for a reset. This was the Financial Times, controlled by the Rothschilds family in London. It is meant to be the granddaddy and authoritarian master, the pink paper for the serious businessman. Haughty-taughty, you don't get any more than this. And here you have this imperial radical thinker of our time saying, is it time for a reset? Welcome, mate. You're about 25 years behind me. You're about 35 years behind the owner of Liberty Life when he said the dollar will be bankrupt, and you're about 5 to 10 years behind most political commentators in the alternative media. Profit with a purpose, the new agenda, always new. It's always new, but it's actually old. It's always new. It's sold to you as new, like you had the New Deal in the 30s, supposedly to bring you escape from the Great Depression in America. Roosevelt's New Deal. No, his New Deal sucked. You would have escaped anyway. The reason you escaped was war, putting everyone to work to go to one of the biggest military conflicts ever had in the globe's history. This new agenda. Keyword search for you here. Let me use my little pen and crayon again. You know I'm a child. More taxes. These principles are good, but not sufficient. It's time. Profit with a purpose, your new P's. This new alliteration. Profit, but with a purpose. We care. Without change, more pain. Without change, more pain. They're bringing the pain to bring in the change. Problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialectic, it's coming. Necessary to reform. Time for a reset. Why is this on green background paper all of a sudden? You're supposed to be the pink paper. What the hell has happened? What the hell has happened? These controlled structures, And this is what they're going on about. So let's go back to the newsletter. This is keywords that they're releasing. Oh, and then you get a girl called Fanny who runs, oh, not Fanny, that's me. My testosterone levels must be a bit high. It's Zanny, that's who it is. Hello, Zanny. Zanny has news for you too in The Economist. And this is what she has to tell you. Climate change. Climate now touches everything we write about. It's to illustrate, we decided to weave articles on climate crisis. Oh, you just happen to coordinate your response to everybody else, along with Greta and everybody else. You all, independent of mind, all thought that the most important thing to write about was climate. Everyone sat down separately in their offices, without collusion, without discussing the Greta, the climate marches, all this whole narrative that everyone's warming up. You independently. There's no collusion, there's no conspiracy to bring this agenda at all. Independently, you thought of this. The processes that force climate change are built into the foundations of the world economy and geopolitics. Okay, so climate is everything. It's now business. It's now politics. It's now absolutely everything. And we need a similarly wide-ranging, all-encompassing, complete overhaul. Oh, isn't it convenient that we need this overhaul and we've got this dead, wrecked financial system that the money printing, conniving crooks and cartel are about ready to do the slam dunk with, and now they need to grab the nearest excuse. Watermelon communism, deep red of tooth and claw, dressed in a green robe. Talking of red meat under attack, new VAT on red meat. Why? Because it's unfriendly, because the fucking animals fart. That's why. Tax extraction is always the way. It's a new reason for more tax extraction. Living off you, bigger government. Always. They never shrink the government, and eventually you end up in communism. You end up in communism, people. That is where they're taking you. It is entirely red. The internet is abuzz with Marxism. Recent search, Adam Smith versus Karl Marx. Smithy in the blue, Karl Marx in the red. He's losing that one. Oh, Marx. They did something on BBC almost passionately about Marx. And most of what he said was about how capitalism will fail. Almost as if by bringing in the worst system for people's freedom that was destined to economically fail when people don't have an economic incentive to better themselves, he was predicting the failure of a capitalist system to re-justify the bringing in of the second tier. What do we know about Marx? What kind of ethnicity is he? Ask questions. Where does this all come from? Zanny. And while we're talking about Zanny, we get this troika of greens. And the greens come to you in female form because you can't criticize them in the same way. You're a misogynist, sexist if you do. So we have Dr. Jill Stein, failed multiple head of the Green Party. You have Zanny of The Economist, another Rothschild rag, meant to be the final word on all things economic. And then you have Caroline Lucas of the UK, which is all about banning men from her party. Yes, this feminism, which is male misogyny by another name, is also all about green. So green is female. Women care. It's emotional. Men don't care. They want to go to dirty beaches covered in plastic. They want the whole system to be filthy and stuffed with carbon. We want to smell and see chimney stacks on our front door. The new world communism will be brought to you under feminism. They're females. You'll have a political lawyer taking Draghi's place. What does that tell you about what's coming for the ECB? It's nothing to do with monetary and economic, and all to do with politics and legalese. That's what's coming. And what do these good people tweet? Well, this is fascinating. Let's just have a look at Mademoiselle Stein. Interesting name. Should look into a bit more. For decades, we've called for action as big as the climate crisis crashing down on us. Anyone hit by a piano recently when you stepped out the front door? crashing down. It's like crashing out in Brexit. Everything is crashing. Everything is crashing if it's not wanted. It's terrible to crash. It's a car crash. They want to use language that is programming you to associate something negative. No, we are actively leaving the room of being part of the ECB, EU cartel of people by choice and finding our freedom. If that's crashing, then I'm good with that crash. It's bumper car time. Green New Deal. This is what she's on. Look at that. A little sunflower, cute emoji. Aren't you caring for the flowers? Climate strike. Have a look at that. 1 minute ago. 2 minutes ago. 1 minute after. Mademoiselle Stein tweeted 1 minute after this empirically good Council on Foreign Relations, founded by Henry Kissinger. You guessed it, Rubin, who was the whispering Zionist in Clinton's ear that actually killed the Glass-Steagall Act, that saw him become even more wealthy and chairperson of Citibank, and that Citibank could take over Travelers because he killed Glass-Steagall while in government, then left, got the job as head of Citibank. No one asked any questions, tell me no lies, worth hundreds and hundreds of millions. Never fingered, real criminal. For the real reason behind the collapse of subprime. And was it an accident or was it engineered? Listen, they took the rev levator off that engine and they said, get people in houses, credit score, schmedit score, schmaltzy, whatever. Ninja loans, go for it. Robo signing, go for it. Let's pump a bubble so that we can have the crash, and that's when we take it all back. It's engineered, it's part of the game. You either understand that or you don't. Her bot Twitter profile tweeted 1 minute after the CFR bot Twitter profile, all on the Green New Deal. How coincidental that they all had a similar thought about Green New Deal and hit the enter button at almost the same moment that they come within a minute of each other on my feed. Isn't that absolutely fascinating? Fires are raging and waters are rising. Time for a global revolt. Oh, a revolt to hide. Let's have a distraction to hide the fact that we're going to crash the goddamn economy because we rapists, bastards, have been living off you like flipping pests, like absolute parasitic control structure, sucking the blood, and we've killed the cow because we've all sucked so deep like the ticks we are. We need a new cow, and let's tow it up in some fabulous reason that's going to lead to more carbon taxes, tax on meat for you, new VATs, because you need to care about the climate. And here's the children. We'll always use the children because the emotion of the children. How can you do it to the children? How dare you? How dare you? So we come with paid children to do it all. And guess what? I give you two trades. Planes All American to collapse. Does the carbon, as the Rockefellers sign off on their original cash cow of oil. It won't end immediately. It'll take a few decades. Watch this pipeline for a sell to lose up to 85%. You want to hedge with a long, go Geopark. But that is separate to what I want to talk about because this is a political statement. You want to see this in more detail, go register. You can catch the two trades that I put at the bottom of my newsletter. Register for the mini-series. If you think you want to be part of what we do, register for a chat. There's no commitment at all. You can find out if this community is right. We answer all questions. Anyway, back to Bloomberg. Now, who is Bloomberg in this world? Let's ask a few questions about Bloomberg. Forget that. Let's go. Where were we? There we go. Before I go into detail on the Bloomberg, one more tweet. Isn't this fascinating? This tweet also with my watermelon communism. Hashtag watermelon communism, guys. Share this video. Hashtag watermelon communism. Get everybody to realize the game. The Bolsheviks are coming dressed in green. That is what's going down. The Berlin municipal housing buys 6,000 apartments for 920 million euros from ADO properties. So these mega corporate investment and hedge funds of high yielding German blocks of apartments are being gobbled up for the municipality of housing. Why do you suddenly need so many more municipal housing? You wouldn't perhaps have lots of new citizens from Syria or Libya needing a place to stay now, would you perhaps? Oh dear. And these hedge funds with government officials and major property investment companies that got cheap banking loans to buy up entire blocks that were yielding 15%, that had never moved in capital price, that are now selling for a whole bunch more. By the way, let's click on that tweet. No, that's the chart. I want the full tweet. Why? Because actually they bought those apartments. For less than half in 2015. And that would have been bought for probably a quarter in 2005, 6 or 7. So these guys are churning huge money, and government is now becoming ever larger in being the purveyor of household. They want the goyim off the land. They want you out of property. Vitalik Buterin has gone on that, wanting blockchain in property and wanting, what's this thing about owning property? You don't really want to own it. You just want to lend. Everyone just rent. Everyone rent a car, rent a this. You can be mobile. You can never own a thing. They want you off your property, buy land, buy property. They will have everyone soon in leasehold type arrangements. Eventually, you will all be tenants. That's what they want. It's a communism Mark II. This is the great Bolsheviks. Let's talk about when Bloomberg, Mr. Bloomberg, met Rockefeller, David's, rest in peace, he has died. One must always be cautious, you know. He died after, I think, his 6th or 7th heart transplant. There were obviously a lot of Chinese people being assassinated, or prisoners that had death sentences that were there and ready to produce the right heart. Not that Tel Aviv is bad in organ transfer business market either, actually. He might not have wanted. Where is the article I was looking for? No, it's not the one. I had it, and now I'm going to have to Google search for it. I'll have to leave it in the notes. Bloomberg. I'm so proud. If my father was only alive today, that he could know the day I came and met David Rockefeller and Jacob Rothschild. Of course, Bloomberg, so much richer nowadays than both these two, but these two as icons of eras gone by. Yeah, like hell. Yeah, like freaking hell. Those guys print the goddamn money. They own absolutely trillions and everything. They are psychotic control structure demons, and you were kissing the ring, and that is why you get a financial news agency that delivers chart data and all sorts of things. A news service in the financial realm repeats a central banker meme that actually the reason why we're going to have a big financial reset will be the climate. You see, when the truth and when the lies get so perverse and so far out that every narrative could be technically possible, and they are even prepared to try sell you that absolute sham, that absolute vile, shameful sham. And by the way, floods, cyclones, and all of this, they've had the best year in category insurance since 2006. Do not look at any of this, and also ask, who does the geoengineering? Who does the geoengineering and the cloud seeding? Yep, I wonder if our great financial reset that I said will happen once they've pushed Trump through for a second term so they can absolutely smear him in derision and economic collapse. I truly wonder if they're going to even throw in some funky weather for the world as well, with a little bit of lasers and lights. We're going to have a shock and awe moment in the weather factory to prove that we suddenly tripped a wire and all sorts of shit started kicking off. And you'll all go, shit, this climate change is real. No, it's not. It'll be freaking engineered by your engineers in chief, in the same way this economic collapse will not be a black swan event. Alan Greenspan, you flipping absolute war criminal. You are an absolute criminal. You need to be put in jail and shot through the forehead. You are an absolute vile criminal that has caused economic crimes against all of the globe with your behavior. You should be in The Hague. You should be there next to Tony freaking Blair and hundreds others that I've even begin to start naming the list. It'll get me on. But that is the most criminal escalator of the Zionist agenda was Greenspan. And boy, did he pump that bubble, and boy, did he slash those rates on globalization, knowing that we were going to get a China manufacturing globalization, low inflation, everything just got made cheaper. You could buy more, and you could just pump more liquidity. There'd be no inflation because prices would keep going down, and there'd be wealth effect because there'd be all this extra liquidity flooding into assets like the stock market, the super pump of the Dow, the S&P, the property markets times 2, busted once, reinflated, student debt, create more debt, ever worse debt for ever worse reasons, expand government, etc., etc. More wars. In this period of such peace, why have we had so many wars in the Middle East, so many employments? Who the goddamn knows? Anyway, fuming at this attempt. It is laughable, and I wanted to put this out to you. Share it with your friends. This is going out on the Reset Sniper. Make sure you've subscribed and hit the bell. You've got 2 trades you can take a look at if you register for a call. If you're interested in becoming the community, if you just want an update and be on the newsletter, register for the mini series. You'll get trading videos. You'll enjoy those. Otherwise, that's it from me. The communists come. The watermelon communists will come dressed in green. And look out for the synchronization of weather events around the eventual reset I expect to have happen. Here we go. Anyway, with that, I love you and leave you and catch you all later. Enjoy the week ahead. Asia, oh my God, the first shoes to drop. Asia currencies, guys. In the sniper circle, shared with my guys. I'll let you see this one. Chinese yuan, double the amount of money than the dollar. Absolutely insane. They're only 1% roughly of SWIFT payment system, hopelessly overvalued. That yuan needs to come down. The Hong Kong peg is going to need to fail as well against the dollar, and the South Korean won. You can see the overvaluation in the M2 money market cap. We have told you the one that you can trade, but not too many brokers have it. IG index on the UK, if you have access, and IG's many other places, the Hong Kong dollar as well. They're just nestling under the pound there. I haven't drawn that line very well. Those two and that one. That is just 3 currencies of Asia, hopelessly over market capped in debt. Don't forget, you have big nations like India and Thailand. The Thai baht needs to revalue as well. They don't do near as much as they think. So you've got the Thai baht almost as big as Russia and bigger than the Indian rupee, that also make up part of Asian currencies. Wow, Singapore dollar at 450, Malaysian ringgit, oh my God, Indonesian rupiah. They're all in there, guys. And then you can throw the Filipino peso in there as well. There's a lot of Asian overvalued currencies. There's an Asian crisis that needs to come. And you will find the most tradable is probably the one that'll do the most. I've done a trade on it. It's my FX trade of the year. It may roll into next year, and even possibly the year thereafter. With that, I want to love you and leave you. I'm already spoken for 32 minutes. Watermelon communism coming at a place to you. Be skeptic of all things green. Be skeptics of all children. They will use children to sell you, little girls particularly, and they'll be skeptical of parties led with green agendas of females. They're there for a reason. They will also promote the radical left feminism. They will promote anti-whiteism. They'll promote everything that will see them call me misogynist, nationalist, and everything else. I don't feel I'm any of those, but I am for freedom and liberty, and they are for taking it away from you. With that, I leave you. Bye for now.